There we go. So hi everybody, it's after work, and it's, what day is it today? Wednesday. It's about Wednesday the 23rd, I think. Wednesday the 23rd. It's about quarter after 4. No, only like a little bit after 4 p.m. We're getting out on time. It's nice. And this is Angie. Angie is a nursing student, and we've just finished up a full day of nursing. We had interdisciplinary team meeting, and we had 4 patient visits, which is one more than I usually do on a Wednesday. So we were really running around crazy. So what did you think of my work day?
Busy.
Busy, okay.
I thought that you know what you're doing very well.
I'm glad somebody thinks so.
I was quite impressed. I'm not gonna lie.
About what in particular?
Huh?
About what in particular?
Your knowledge of medications.
Medications,
is exceptional.
Yeah, that's a big one, yep.
You could answer questions on the spot with the with knowledge of the answer, and I don't think there was an I don't know that came from you, which was quite impressive.
Some people would think
you have
that's
a good
suspicious.
bedside manner.
Oh, good.
And just your patient care in general. I like the way you work with your patients.
Yeah, good. We got to get really physical with our patients today. There was a lot of turning and repositioning and inspecting the skin and moving people around, and we really do in home care and end-of-life care in particular, we really do get our hands in there and do like basic bedside care stuff.
I mean, even with the picking up of the twitching, I've never heard that in my year and a half.
The abnormal involuntary mouth movements.
Right.
Yeah. Well, before I got into nursing, I worked in a group home for adults with mental retardation, and that was one of those things they told us to look out for, because a lot of them were on Risperdal, Haldol, and Combazine, and things like that. So for those antipsychotics, you want to be on the lookout for those abnormal involuntary mouth movements. Though there's some genetic conditions that could cause that too, that aren't related to medications. I don't remember what they are now. So something that a lot of the other LPN students told me. Well, first let me ask you, how is hospice care like different or similar to how you thought it would be?
When I think of hospice care, I think of like, I guess when I think of it, I think of actively dying patients, whereas they're not always actively dying.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of hospice. But that would be what I thought at first with our teaching and things. But
what do you mean we haven't had a lot of hospice?
We haven't had like a lot of work with hospice patients in the nursing homes. We've had a few, but most of them they don't let the students work with because they can pick and choose, and a lot of them don't want students.
Oh, I see.
So I'm trying to think. I don't know. I thought it was a good learning experience.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was a nice day.
It was a good work day?
It was a good day.
Yeah.
It's better than some of my clinical days.
Well, something a lot of the other students expressed to me was that it wasn't as sad as they thought it would be.
It wasn't what?
It wasn't as sad as they thought it would be. I mean, does that resonate with your experience today?
Yeah, no, it wasn't as sad at all. I felt for some of the family members that, because they're at home still, and I can understand their frustration or how much work it is to care for someone.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as sad. I think the third one was the one that I felt more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the CNA there was exceptional too, so I felt like she was in good hands. She was in very good hands.
Yeah, definitely.
And they all seem to love you, so that's a plus.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe I'll be able to hang on to my job a little while longer. Yeah, but people often praise us for the kind of work that we do in hospice home care, but really the family caregivers deserve 90% of the credit, because they're the ones in the home all day and they've got the hardest job. A lot of us really consider it a privilege to do this kind of work where we go and help those people out. We've got the open road in front of us instead of fluorescent lights and beeping alarms.
I think you're a very good patient advocate too.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that got me into this line of work. When I was working in the group home, there were things about the way the adults with mental retardation that were being treated that I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
but without a license, I didn't really have a platform from which to advocate for them. You know, I was just a direct care associate making $10 an hour. Nobody really cared what I had to say about how the patients were being treated, or clients, I should say. They're clients in there. Oh no! Before I left, they said the new nomenclature was consumers.
They what?
Consumers.
Ah.
They're consumers of healthcare services. Yeah.
Yeah. No. You're very good at what you do.
Well, good. I'm glad you think so.
It's nice to see, because you see some very not so good at what they do.
Hmm.
You wonder how they got in the profession that they're in.
Yeah.
Kind of scary. It was interesting to see you. No, yeah. Not a pick on.
Oh yeah, the implanted ports. We had a lot of ports today. It's not always like that.
I've
but it
never
was just like
seen
the day
anybody
of ports.
change the needle on one of those, so that was nice. And then, it's nice to see someone who actually tries, well, not tries, but maintains this sterile technique with the.
Yeah. Well, aseptic and sterile technique is really hard to do at home because you don't really have a controlled environment.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't do it. You know, people very often say that there are no sterile techniques in home care or there are no sterile techniques in the nursing home, but that's up to that individual nurse. You know, it's a matter of your training and how much, you know, how hard you're willing to work at it.
Yeah.
Did you like that story I told about the circulating nurse in Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah, just for our viewers at home that weren't there, I was telling the story to a family member who is a retired RN, and the story was told to me by one of my clinical instructors, who herself was a circulating nurse at a hospital in Chicago, and she was an experienced nurse, and she was working with like a young surgical resident who just entered the profession, and my instructor, who at that time was a circulating nurse, told him that he had contaminated himself because he touched his sterile gown below his waist, which means you're not sterile anymore. And he was arguing with her over it and said that he wasn't sterile, that he wasn't contaminated, rather. So she pulls her gloves off and it just like plants her bare hands on his chest and says, "Okay, now you're contaminated. Go back and re-scrub." And that's just like such a great like archetypal story about like what nursing is about. You know, like maybe we're not doctors, but we're the last line of defense between the patient and like certain calamity. And you know, the treatments that doctors prescribe are not always right. You know, and they can't always be right because they're not always there.
Right.
But we're always there. So it's not an adversarial relationship. It's supposed to be you know, a collaborative one where we're working together. But sometimes it is adversarial, and you just have to deal with that. That's okay. We got to be ready to have those confrontations. Have you noticed in nursing so far? Have you noticed that there's a lot of people that are conflict avoiders?
They're confident what?
Conflict avoiders.
Oh, conflict avoiders.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard of like people that are like people who avoid conflicts, people who look for conflict, and there's like a third kind of interpersonal relationship. I don't remember what it is, but I mean, it seems to be in nursing there's a lot of conflict avoiders. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, for the most part. For one clinic. Yeah, I mean, I want to 50-50, depending upon where I've been.
Half of them avoid conflict and half of them jump into it?
Yeah.
Well, your clinical instructors will probably weed out the half that don't avoid it at some point.
Yeah.
Have you seen much attrition in your LPN program? Like, are people dropping out?
No, we actually have only lost, oh my goodness, I want to say maybe 6 people, and we...
Out of how many?
We had 40.
6 out of 40?
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, I don't... That's, you know, you could say some shouldn't be in the program, but...
That's actually more attrition than we had in my RN program.
Really?
We had 8 out of 80 every semester, so it was about 10% a semester.
Really?
And, you know, what made me really suspicious was it averaged about 1 person out of each clinical cohort, you know?
Huh.
There were 10 clinical cohorts of 8 student nurses each, and there was 80 students in the class altogether. Now they do 40-person classes. I think that's what everybody's moving towards. But it was a good 10% of the class every semester.
I think they're a little lenient, unfortunately, with LPN school in some factors.
Yeah, if your attrition rate is over 10%, I think they're being pretty strict. But you think they're being lenient on some stuff, or were they dropping out because of like personal issues?
Well, I think that they with the giving a lot of like chances and retakes and.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta study and you gotta work hard, and I don't know. Taking something numerous times isn't some aspects it's alright, but
These like drug dosage calculation tests and things like that.
different tests. Like
Yeah.
they've allowed some students to retake things because they were on the bridge of failing. Where I'm like, I don't know. From what I've heard or been told, if they were in an RN program, that wouldn't. I don't think you get retakes.
Yeah, they said in advance how often you can retake things. At least this is how it was when I went through 6 years ago. But the thing that most people were nervous about was the drug dosage calculation tests, and the math involved was really simple. But people would get really nervous about it, and they capped it. They said they capped it at three attempts.
Oh, okay.
But some people, they let them take it a fourth time.
Really? See, I didn't. I didn't. Some of it was very difficult depending upon what it was, but some of it I didn't find.
Yeah, I was amazed at how nervous everybody was about it. But I mean, part of that, I guess, was being in engineering before. But it was only it was high school algebra basically.
Yeah.
It didn't really get any more advanced than that. But I would have people coming to me for help for problems like you need to give 95 mLs of a feeding solution at 50% strength. So how many mLs is water? And they couldn't figure it out. And it seems to be like some people went for the nursing profession because they thought they didn't have to do a lot of math and science.
Right.
But come to find out,
It is a lot of math. It's a lot of hard work.
I haven't had to do really any of the infusion rates or stuff like that because everything's automated pumps now, so I never had to do the drips or anything.
We did it once, and we've done it once in lab.
Yeah.
And then in the real world at clinicals, we haven't done a lot. I've worked with the IV pumps an awful lot. And I got to learn quite a bit about those, so that was nice. But I don't know. I feel like do you feel like you got a lot in your clinical experience for your RN, or was it mostly on the job training? Because I just feel like we don't have a lot of real good clinical experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the way it seems to me is that on the job is where you do the most learning.
Okay.
But your clinical training is there to make sure you don't hurt somebody accidentally.
Right.
So you pick up these skills and these competencies to make sure you're safe to start your real world learning experience. But you have to learn these things first. To make sure that you've been trained to double check things, ask questions, look up meds if you don't know them, and those are the important principles they're trying to get you to remember. But knowing how to do all the procedures isn't as important because people will teach you those as you go. But there are these core competencies that you have to be comfortable with or at least to recognize to recognize what's safe and what isn't,
right.
Or to have a good sense of your own confidence of doing particular things. And that's not really an absolute either, because I started doing port flushes when I work with nurses who have a decade and a half more experience than I have that won't do port flushes because they're not comfortable with it. And then when I worked in the nursing home, nobody was comfortable doing port flushes. And I was relatively fresh out of school. I had my license about a year or so, and I said, okay, show me the policy and procedure manual, show me step-by-step instructions, and I will do it. And then from then on, I did all the port flushes, and it was not difficult at all. But it just took having that confidence to say, okay, I've learned enough about the body and about procedures and about how needle access works, and I've got all this theory. And as long as I have clear instructions, then I can do it. I'm confident I can try something new, because there's so many procedures. You're going to be trying new things your whole career.
Yeah.
You're going to be learning new procedures. You're going to be learning about new medications, because there's new medications coming out all the time. And a big part of the nursing profession is being willing to continually learn new things and to be confident in your ability to learn new things and to do them correctly. See one, do one, teach one is the joke in medical school, or the old axiom. That's something that they say while training doctors. You'll have a chance to see one, you'll have a chance to do one, and then it'll be your turn to teach somebody else because you're it.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to nursing just as well. Maybe pharmacy too. I hope they get rid of this speed bump soon. It's gonna get icy soon.
Why do they have that there?
I don't know. Well, part of it is because there's a private residence in the driveway.
Oh, okay.
People walk their pets around here and stuff.
I gotcha.
I'm sure there's some kind of insurance implications. Were you parked over there?
Yeah, the white one.
All right.
today was a good learning experience.
Yeah, good. Well, tell all your friends.
I will. I think it would be if I were, when I obtained my RN, it would be something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, good. I think it's a great way. I mean, I think this would be a good venue for training new nurses, except we've gotten away from like the mentorship one-to-one training.
That's the only thing, is that if you're a brand new nurse, that would be my concern, because you're by yourself,
Yeah,
so
well, they won't hire you for this job without experience. You got to have like a year of clinical experience or whatever. But I think it would be a great venue for training new nurses, but you would have to have one mentor and one protege, and they just don't do things like that anymore because of the shortage.
Right. Right, no, that makes sense. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Good luck in your career.
Thank you very much for everything. And I will let everybody know they should ask for you.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.